Alright, howdy. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of my usual demoing of guitars or amps or effects, I'm going to be showing the Amplitube app by IK Media. And it is kind of a digital modeling amp in an iPhone/iPad app. And this one is actually, I'm showing it on an iPad because it's a little easier to see, but it's actually a iPhone size app that can be blown up to look better on an iPad. So it's not one of those that's got like a different app for the iPad and the iPhone. It's a cool little thing. It's got a setup menu that lets you do all kinds of control over feedback, latency, retain settings, which keeps the settings that you've got when you switch between amps instead of reverting to the defaults, which is kind of a pain after you just tweaked it a bunch. It's also got clean, crunch, and lead amps. So by default, it looks like the clean amp is some kind of a blackface Fender. The crunch amp looks to me like it's supposed to be a Vox maybe. Hard to say. And then the lead amp, which is obviously some kind of a Marshall copy. With each of these, you get to change the speaker cabinet configurations. Usually stuff that has 1 by 12, 2 by 12. They'll come up by default at what they think is the nominal amp cab configuration. So the Marshall one comes up by default with a 4 by 12. The clean, I think, came up with a 1 by 12 by default, but I put it at a 2 by 12 because I want it to sound kind of like a twin. And the crunch came up with a 2 by 12. Also, you can change the microphones from a familiar looking dynamic mic to a condenser mic. That one looks kind of like a Neumann, and that one kind of looks like a Shure. But they do really affect the sound, and of course the whole cabinet can be bypassed altogether. So that's kind of cool. Then you get effects, and they can be any of a number of things. You can turn them off altogether, or you can turn them into other things. They have some kind of default settings for you. They offer this one. FX1 is a flanger by default. FX2, they give you a delay by default. FX3 is an envelope filter. I'm going to put that one as an overdrive. Back to the amp, there's a recorder built in, which is, as you can see, kind of looks like a little cassette deck. It's actually kind of a mixer channel, and then a cassette up here. There's a master section that allows you to add reverb, EQ, or compressor to your output. You can do songs and things like that, or you can add gear. I don't know what that one actually does. Oh, so there you go. There's pieces you can buy, or you can use the built-in stuff. So I'll go back here to the default and give you a little bit of an idea what it sounds like. It's a I got it set now on kind of a twin. I'm playing, by the way, through a Les Paul. So, in fact, I can get a pretty decent clean sound. Yeah, that's pretty decent twin. I'll switch it now to the crunch setting. And of course, all these have controls that are adjustable either by pulling on the knob up or down, or you notice this bar graph here. This is maneuverable by hand. So if you, like I do, have trouble sometimes getting the knobs to go exactly where you want to, you can actually get a pretty decent sound just by grabbing the segment and pulling it back. So I use that more than the knobs. On the lead setting, I've got a Marshall set up here, and I'll give you an idea what that sounds like. Now, turn on some of the effects. You can get kind of a cool sound if you go to the clean and turn on a chorus. Bypass that. You can turn on the delay, which by the way has a BPM sync feature. If you've got a song in the song mode with a BPM setting, it will actually sync your delay to that. It also has a tap. Well, it's actually a bypass. The switch works. So. Bypass that, go to effect 3 and turn on the overdrive. So, it sounds about like you'd expect a twin to sound with an overdrive on. But if you go back here and switch to the crunch mode with the overdrive on, you get kind of a voxy kind of thing. And then if I turn on the lead mode, you'll see that see that really kind of wakes up the Marshall, which I think by itself kind of is a boxy kind of sounding amp. I think that overall the Marshall is probably the weakest. I've got the amp bypass, so it just sounds kind of a little bit compressed and boxy to me. Doesn't really seem to have the edge of an actual Marshall. I think the Twin is probably the solidest amp model on here. But overall, pretty cool little app, and I'm not sure if I would play out live with it, but definitely something that you could use, for practice, take along on business trips or anything like that. It would work fine. And I actually have to try recording with it and see how it does. It seems to me like it's a little bit weak for live. Like the amps just don't really have quite the girth for it. The clean sounds are okay. But when you get into the Marshall setting, it seems like it's a little bit like it's missing something. But I'll continue to play with it and see what I can get it to do. Thanks.